The following week, we went to the Italian Grand Prix. I was getting quite used to this jaunt now, being my 5th visit to Monza. In 1960, the British teams had protested that the banked part of the Monza circuit was too dangerous. The Automobile Club di Milano responded that anyone who does not like the circuit need not bring their car. The British teams boycotted the race, and only Ferrari, Porsche, and a handful of privateers competed. This year, however, the British teams again registered a complaint, but entered the race, accepting that it would be run on the combined road and banked circuit. This is a pure speed circuit. Even the road part of the course is virtually flat out, save for 3 slow corners. The bank section is flat out. The Yeoman Credit team had practiced an experimental car based on a Formula Junior Cooper. The bespectacled Maston Gregory was driving the UDT Lacedal Lotus Climax, Joe Bonnier the works Porsche. Number 20 was Gregory's teammate, Henry Taylor, in a Lotus Climax with 61 type bodywork. The Ferrari team had all 6 cars. Regular drivers Phil Hill, Von Trips, Ginther and Baghetti all had 120-degree engines. Young Mexican Ricardo Rodriguez had an older 60-degree engine. Baghetti's car was again entered by Scuderia Sant Ambrosius, but it was to all intents a works entry. The 6th car was the T car used for practice, fitted with an older engine. Ferrari's chief engineer, Carlo Citti, had designed the beautiful Tipo 156, which has now acquired the sobriquet Shark Nose. If all the Ferraris held together, I thought the best anyone else could hope for was 6th place, except perhaps Sterling, of course. The young Italian Lorenzo Bandini, driving a Maserati engine Cooper, had brought his fan club with him. Number 24 was Graham Hill's BRM. He'd practiced the new V8, but it was not yet race ready, and he reverted to the 4-cylinder Climax engine BRM for the race. Gurney's Porsche was on the 6th row of the grid alongside Moss. Sterling had recorded his fastest time with the new Coventry Climax V8 engine, but had experienced cooling problems. Von Trips was on pole position, Rodriguez a surprising second after beating teammates Hill on the 2nd row and Baghetti on the 3rd. Alongside Baghetti was Graham Hill, with a promising time set with the new V8 engine BRM. Clark's Lotus Climax was 7th, and Bonnier's Porsche 8th. In all, there were 32 starters. Innes Ireland, chatting to Joe Bonnier, had offered his works Lotus to Moss after Sterling had definitely decided against using the V8 in the race. So the works Lotus was fitted with the top of the Walker Lotus dark blue, retaining the green lower portion, and fitted with Moss's number 28. Sterling had never driven this car before, as his car was the older Lotus. The replacement car also had a different gear change pattern. Once again then, only Jack Brabham had the new V8 engine, but it was not expected to last, as he, like Moss, had been suffering from overheating problems in practice. The Porsches, with their trailing arm front suspension, were almost vintage by now. At the drivers' meeting, we saw young Ricardo Rodriguez with his yellow helmet, Joe Bonnier, Jim Clark, Bruce McLaren, all awaiting the off. The Ferraris were on home ground, had the most powerful engines, and the opposition all had old or underdeveloped new engines. I expected Ferrari to dominate. Pre-war Brooklands lap record holder, Lord Howe, was there to see fair play. On the grid were Von Trips, Rodriguez, then Ginther and Phil Hill. Off the line, the extremely tall gearing of the Ferraris gave their opposition a chance to tuck in behind them. Ginther led, with Clark obscured behind him. Heading for the banking for the first time, Ginther still led Clark, with 3 Ferraris close behind. At the end of the first lap, the order was Phil Hill, Ginther, Rodriguez, Clark, Brabham, Von Trips, Baghetti, Bonnier, Gurney and Moss. The racing was frantic. Positions were changing constantly. At the end of this straight, Clark and Von Trips collided. Clark spun to a rest, but the Ferrari went up the grass banking. Tragically, Von Trips and 14 spectators were killed. The race continued, with the order now Hill, Ginther, Rodriguez, Baghetti and Brabham. Moss was sandwiched between the Porsches of Gurney and Bonnier. On the next lap, Surtees and Bonnier collided, and the Porsche had to retire. The race continued, with the drivers unaware of the extent of the tragedy. The RAC's Dean Delamont congratulated John Cooper, delighted to see that Brabham could live with the 4 leading Ferraris. But it didn't last, and the Ferraris shot by without Brabham, and Jack brought the car into the pits. The new V8 had teething troubles, but it had at least proved that it had the power to stay with the Ferraris. Then the Scuderia lost 3 cars in quick succession. Rodriguez and Baghetti retired on lap 13, and Ginther on lap 24, all with engine trouble. Moss fought a long battle with Gurney's Porsche, but he eventually retired with front wheel bearing failure. Gurney's Porsche was thus second, some distance behind Phil Hill. Phil Hill took the checkered flag, unaware of the death of his teammate Von Trips. Gurney was second, and McLaren third. Privateer Jack Lewis in his Cooper just held off Brooks over the line for 4th. For the Ferrari team, though, there was little joy in Hill's victory. With only 1 race remaining, Von Trips' death made Hill's lead in the championship unassailable.